It was just pouring outside, and there was like lightning and all these clouds coming through, and it's a perfect day to kind of just sit down and talk to you guys. So I want to give a little background about myself. My name is Matt Fleischer. I go by Matty Fleisch on Instagram and YouTube. By the way, if you hear humming, it's either my fridge that never turns off or it's the trains that go by like every 5 minutes. So there's definitely going to be some background noise. I apologize. I'm 32. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I live in Queens now. And I'm currently a producer at The Molecule, which is a visual effects company for the experiential design department. And I want to explain first some of my background, how I got to where I am now, and where I'm looking to go. My parents bought an old house in the 80s in New York. It was kind of a fixer-upper. And see, there's the train. It's already here. It's a couple of years after they bought it that my dad, who's an architect, lost his job at a firm. And I think he was in a similar situation that I'm in now, which is kind of funny, also around the same time in his life, where he was trying to decide if he wants to go get another job at somebody's firm, or does he want to venture out on his own and do his own thing. And he decided to do that, which I give him a lot of credit for. So he was starting to build his business, and he had young kids and this huge house that needed a ton of work. He got me where I am today. I mean, both my parents did, but whenever there was something that needed to be fixed, he took it on first. Before, he never just called in somebody to get it fixed. Like, if something needed to be painted, you needed wood cut, you needed new crown molding, you wanted refinished floors, you had a pest problem. Whatever it was, he was going to attempt it himself. And he taught that to me. He taught me the importance of that and why it's important to understand how things work, and to also know when to stop, when to call quits. So I think of him more as a carpenter than anything else, other than a father figure and of course a friend. But it was those earlier years where he had, whether it was a VCR to fix or whatever it was, that he got us involved and made it a priority to show us how things worked. And that kind of got us onto the track of tinkering and hobbies. And he bought me and my sister identical electric buggies. And that kind of led us to taking it a little more seriously. We got a Thunder Tiger mini buggy. It was nitro powered. I ended up with a car. I don't remember what it was called, but it had a 2-speed transmission. It was awesome. It was so much fun. And it was around that time that I started to get more interested in computers and more on the hardware side of things. Fixing machines, upgrading, building new machines, stuff like that. And also, around that same time, I started to get more into PC gaming. I used to play Enemy Territory like a maniac for I don't even know how many years, but I'd just spent hours and hours and hours blowing people up. But yeah, it went from from the technical know-how of repairing stuff, and then it kind of segued into RC somehow, and then it expanded into nitro, and then it kind of fell off and computers came into my life, and I started to kind of bond with that and video games. And then I wanted an Xbox 360, but I couldn't afford it. I found that the Xbox has an inherent flaw built into it where it would overheat. It's called the red ring of death. So if you Google that, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, or maybe you dealt with it yourself in the past. I researched it. I found that there's an easy solution to fix it. It was like a $3 part that you needed. I found a cheap one on eBay. I was able to fix it and get it working for myself, which was really awesome. So I had my Xbox. And then I started thinking, how can I make some money on the side? How do I keep this thing going? And I realized I could start buying them in bulk. So that's what I started doing. Was I saved up a little more money. I bought like 10, fixed them all, sold them, bought another like 20, fixed them all, sold them, and I had like a nice little eBay business for a while. But that kind of stuff got me even further. And then I got my first job at a boating store. My dad got a small sailboat, and we got our licenses, and there's tons of tinkering with that, and engine work, and you name it, you have to do it on a boat. If you own a boat, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's hell. It's fun hell, but it's a lot of energy. So I got a job at a boat store in the city, and we sold supplies, and I learned marine electronics, and I learned tinkering, and I was meeting all these interesting people. And I was also still in college, finishing up my undergrad, and that's where I took an elective in filmmaking. So now we get the filmmaking in. I don't know, I just got sucked into it and decided to go back to school for my graduate degree. And that's where I met my fiancée, Stephanie, and learned how to make from soup to nuts a movie. Writing, editing, conceptualizing, shooting it, producing it, getting it out there into the world, and that taught me a ton. And after that, I did whatever I could to get into the TV world. I've been doing this for 8 years, or 9, I don't know, a long time. But at the same time, I love creating my own content. I love making movies. I love doing things. It was around 2015 that RC came back into my life, and I saw a video. I think it was a Team Black Sheep video. I don't remember what it was, but it blew me away. Whatever it was damn good. All I knew was I wanted a part of it. And I started watching Stinger Swarm videos and Mr. Steel and Rotor Riot, and I started out with a really cheap Amazon drone, which didn't even have a camera on it, just flying line of sight, just learning sticks. Eventually we found the Tiny Whoop, got into the Tiny Whoop. My buddy Jacob got into it, and I built myself up through that. Had a Tiny Whoop, got an Eachine 95, got the Lizard. I had a Blade Torrent 125, got that. That was cool. So at that point, I decided to build a Stinger Swarm build, which was his V1 frame, so I could take it more seriously. And with the 5-inch quads, you can put a GoPro on top and get this incredible footage. The trains are endless. The trains just keep coming and coming and coming and coming. I'm trying to take everything that I've learned and apply it to this quote-unquote hobby, whatever you want to call it, so I could get better at it. And I love flying, and I love meeting people in the hobby. The community so far has been incredibly receptive and kind, and I want to contribute as much as I can and help people out if I can. So if you could like this, please like this. Comment, subscribe, share, give me a thumbs up. That would be incredibly beneficial to me, so I appreciate it. It would also encourage me to make more content, and I could use that. So please help me out. Thanks.